Hello? They say I was born in 1753 in Senegal, Africa. My parents I vaguely knew. In August of 1763, when I was about 7 years old, I was transported to Boston and on the ship. The ship was filled with refugee slaves from Africa. I was a slender, frail, sickly, and nearly naked girl, only wrapped in dirty carpets. It was determined that I was not fit for rigorous labor for the hard winters like the other slaves. So as I was standing on the docks, I heard a voice saying, "I want a domestic. I want a domestic." The voice was that of Susanna Wheatley, wife of a prominent Boston tailor named John Wheatley. The Wheatleys purchased me for a trifle. The owner of the ship gave me to them for a small amount of money because he thought that I was going to die and at least he could get something for me before I died. I was given the name Phyllis after the slave ship and the surname Wheatley after the Wheatley family. My name is now Phyllis Wheatley. After I was taken into the Wheatley's household, they discovered my precociousness. I was smart. I was eager to learn. They thought I was an African girl way ahead of my times. So therefore, the Wheatley family, Mr. and Mrs. Wheatley, along with their son Nathan and their daughter Mary, immersed me into the Bible, astronomy, geology, history, British literature, particularly that of John Milton and Alexander Pope. I also studied Greek and Latin classics like Virgil and Terence and Homer. I received exposure rich and unusual for an African slave. My spirits yearned the intellectual challenges of more academic exposure. At age 16, I wrote a poem on being brought from Africa to America, which was my best known and most controversial. It applied to biblical symbolism, to enveloping, and to comment on slavery. By the time I was 18, I had a collection of 28 poems. My poems that best demonstrated my ability and were most often questioned by dictators are those that employ classical themes as well as techniques. In 1772, I was put on trial to defend my literary abilities. I was examined by luminaries of Boston, including the governor of Massachusetts. After all of this questioning, they found my writing very creditable. In an effort to get my poems published, I was taken to London by the Wheatleys, in that nobody in Boston, no publisher in Boston would publish an African slave's work. So off to London we went. My first published poem was included in a funeral sermon of the Reverend and pious George Whitefield. This funeral was taking place in 1773. This poem brought me international acclaim. After the Wheatleys died, I met and married John Peters, which was not the advice of most of my associates at the time. He was later imprisoned for his business dealings. I published a 64-line poem in a pamphlet under the name of Phyllis Wheatley, titled Liberty and Peace. I had 3 children. The first and second died as babies. After the third birth, December 5th, 1784, I died due to childbirth. My child died 2 hours after me. We were buried together. I died at age 31, alone and uncared for. History has me as the first professional African-American woman poet and the first African-American woman whose writings were published. My accomplishments opened the doors for many Black writers after me. In October 2003, the city of Boston established the Women's Memorial, and as a prominent part of that exhibit, a bronze statue of me was given a prominent location on the Commonwealth Avenue in the city of Boston. My memories will live on in the literature books as history prevails. Thank you.